We're ready? Okay. Our speaker today is Reverend Amber Rose Dullea, an inspiring humorous minister and a social worker. She embodies compassion, a whole systems approach, and nurturing therapy. She is the author of Path of Heart, Personal and Planetary Healing, and From Ow to Wow, 5 Steps to Thriving with Pain. And she recently completed a Master's of Social Work at University of Southern California. Today, Reverend Amber Rose is going to share about our Ocean Unity monthly theme, faith. And her take on it is faith in the midst of healing. We all find ourselves sometimes feeling broken or not understanding the grand scheme for our lives. Faith is being able to have complete trust or confidence, or both, in a higher power. This can be most difficult when things appear not to be going well. Reverend Amber Rose will share her own experience of tested faith and how she learned how to have faith in the midst of the appearance of brokenness. Please welcome Reverend Amber Rose Dullea. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome. Welcome. This is full house. I love it. Like Linda said, today is going to talk about faith. I drew the inspiration from the theme. So I said, faith, okay, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to do? And I think faith is that thing that is a belief, a knowing, and for me anyway, it's the statements of unity, that there is a presence, that there is a power, and that there is knowledge that is everywhere, in everything, and in everyone, surrounding, in, through, and all of that. That's my belief. We, as Linda said earlier, this is a place for everybody's belief and everybody's spiritual path. So hopefully you'll take something out of what I have to share with you today as my own experience and my own wisdom that I've come up with in life so far. And so some of you know a little bit about my story, some of you do not. So let me just tell you, in 2002, I had just published my book, A Path of Heart, Personal and Planetary Healing. It was based on my thesis that I had done in my whole systems design program, the master's program that I did at Antioch, which Ruth Miller helped to develop. So it's a full circle, yes. And I was driving home and I was thinking, well, what do I do now? It took me 12 years to write this book. What's my purpose now? And just as I was thinking this car came right in front of me and I bammed right into it. And at that moment, I didn't think, well, that's a good answer. So, but I did eventually come to realize that that was part of the answer to my question. What is my life purpose right now? And what happened was it wasn't that big of an accident. It was a T-bone, you know, everybody walked away, everything was fine. Or so I thought. And what basically happened over the next year was that I had a post-concussive syndrome, which if any of you have had it, it's not fun. It's a lot of short-term memory issues. It's a lot of emotionality. I was actually diagnosed with bipolar 2 from that accident, having it really impact my emotions. And then I also got fibromyalgia to top it off. So a lot of pain, chronic pain, that sort of thing. And I was a massage therapist at the time. And so what basically happened was that that question of what's my purpose now went from, well, not massage therapy anymore, because, you know, as you're giving massage, you're supposed to be centered. And if you're going, ow, ow, ow,
on the way to massage, the person on the table is not going to be relaxed. So I finally decided, it took me a while to give up and to finally put out in faith, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing anymore. Okay, what now? I couldn't think. My memory was shot. I was teaching some, but the lights were giving me migraines. And so I took about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I don't remember exactly at this point, but of trying to figure out what did I want to do next? What was the thing that was going to be my next thing? So I did a little bit of administrative work. I did a little bit of this. I did a little bit of that, kind of trying to find my way. And eventually what I ended up doing was coaching. I found a company that did inside track, and they did coaching for college students. And by that time, my memory was a little bit better. It still was a little but I started doing that. Okay, so what's my purpose? I asked again. Where am I? What am I doing? And each moment during this experience, I had to be remembering what healing was for me. What I had put in that book that took me 12 years to write. Here's this thing. Healing is recognizing wholeness that already exists. That's my definition. Healing is wholeness that already exists, is recognizing it and seeing it for what it actually is. So from one perspective, I could say, I was broken. I could no longer do the work that I used to do. I could not think the way that I used to think. I could not feel the way that I used to feel. So what, in one perspective, that was pretty broken. But during that time, I also had the faith to know that this had something to do with something. There was something going to come out of it. And in the moment, kind of like what we saw on the screen, I had to remember in that brokenness that there was wholeness, that there was something there for me. A lot of times we talk about how do we sort of outpicture our faith in terms of I manifested this, or I manifested that, or my life looks wonderful because of my faith. And that's wonderful. I think it's something that's really important to realize, that we are blessed and we are fortunate for everything that we do have. But it's during those times that we feel broken, that we feel like, for instance, there was a day that I remember where I couldn't even walk to the end of our driveway. My back was in so much pain. I couldn't focus on the paperwork to do the Social Security disability paperwork that I was applying for, because I had given up. I had totally given up. This was before I started the coaching. And I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, okay, God, I have no idea what you have in mind here, but obviously everything that I've been trying to do and make happen was not happening. And I think for me, part of what was going on was that I had lost some faith. I had lost faith that God would take care of it, and that my higher power had a larger vision than I did. Because in the moment, I just felt broken. And I was hitting myself in the head and going, okay, you had to go and write that healing was recognizing wholeness that already exists. Lovely thing to say, but here you are living it. Let's look at what it actually looks like when you want to do healing. And what does it take? It takes faith. You need to act on faith. You need to trust in faith. And you need to live in faith, live with faith. That's at least what I discovered. For me, I know that there is a higher power, because I definitely don't know it all. There is a plan that's much bigger than I can ever understand. There's a great parable, a Chinese parable that kind of talks about how things are good news or they're bad news. And it really depends on your vision and what's going on in the moment. Has anybody heard this? Yeah. But basically it's this farmer whose son broke his leg and everybody went, oh, that's so bad. That's horrible. And then the army came to get soldiers and they said, oh, it's such a blessing that your son's leg was broken, so he didn't have to go off to war. And the man said, well, maybe we'll see. And it kind of goes on. I can't remember it all off the top of my head right now. It's just something that came to mind. But it's always important to remember that we may not have the whole picture, and that what faith tells us is that it is a part of our journey. That the brokenness or the appearance of brokenness, because that's what it is. It's just in that moment when we go, this doesn't feel quite what I'm wanting in my life. I was not wanting to give up massage therapy. That was not what I wanted to do. But what I did do was I moved forward. Well, actually, I got spurred on by anger, just for the heck of it. I'll put that in there. I was denied Social Security disability, and they were like, you should be able to work. And I'm like, yeah, right. You tell me how then. So I went down to Voc Rehab and got them to help me find a job at Inside Track and got myself together. And so, I'm not going to remember any of this stuff because my brain still isn't working 100%. Miracle upon miracles. I was working 40 hours a week and I was doing it. And I'm going to point you out, Ron. Ron is a friend of mine from Inside Track. He was my coach during this time that I was going through all of this, and so he can attest to the gracefulness and non-gracefulness that was there for me during that time. And so moving forward, what I want to say is that there are times when we, or at least for myself, that I get glimpses into that larger picture. I get glimpses into, oh, that's why this is happening. Oh, and that's the easy place to have faith. It's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense now. I needed to stop being a massage therapist so that I could start being a coach, so that I could start doing bringing my gifts to the world in a different way, which I probably wouldn't have done if I had continued to do massage therapy. Oh, that makes so much sense. Didn't feel like it at the time. And so that faith of being able to hold on to that, even though I don't know what the plan is, there is a higher plan that's going on and working here. So fast forward a few years, and I thought, well, what's my purpose now? Inside Track felt like it was in the back. I wasn't sure what I wanted to be doing, but that wasn't it anymore. And I thought, I should go back to school. Let's go get our third master's. And and I want to be a therapist. That's what I want to do next, and be able to bring that out. And so one day, had that wonderful experience that we've talked about before of being in alignment with all that is, with the higher power, and just knowledge kind of coming in, and was like, I should go to get my master's in social work. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to make this happen in the quickest way possible because I'm not young. And I want as much time as possible to do the counseling that I want to do. And I'm just going to trust that I'm going to find work. And what I thought was the county, work at the county. And that's the next step. So that's what I did. I went back to school, went to USC. It was tough. I would have never have thought that I would have been able to do it 10 years before, right? There is no way in heck that I could have done it, but I could. And how I was able to do it was one day at a time, sometimes one class at a time, sometimes one word at a time, for those darn papers that you had to write, right? One client at a time, all of those people that I had to work with in my internship. So now I continue to ask that question. So what is my purpose? What am I doing right now? And what I can tell you today is that I have faith that it will unfold. That at least at this moment, I feel like I'm in alignment with what I need to be doing. I get to talk at Unity. Yay! I love coming here and sharing the good news. And I get to work at the county, and I have wonderful clients that teach me every day how fortunate I am and how faith can be something that no matter what the circumstances look like, homeless, major trauma in people's lives, major mental health issues. I have clients who just put me to shame in my faith. They just, it's easy to be faithful when you're feeling, woohoo, I'm good, I'm great. It's harder when things don't look wonderful. And so it's in those moments, I think, that we grow our faith, that we're able to see what it is that we're able to do. So for me, faith has three things that are really important. One is that you need to act on faith. And for me, going back to school was just that. It doesn't make a lot of sense if you think about the debt I'm in. Student loans are real, but they're not real in that it was just a way for me to be able to do my next step. It's not something that I have to be weighed down by. It's just something that's there, right? So on one hand, I'm 58 years old, going back to school does not compute. But in my heart and in my soul, I knew it computed. I knew that this was what I was supposed to be doing. So I took an action on faith that was going to happen. The other thing is to be able to live your faith. And for me, that gives me peace, because I'm able to see that faith allows me to see that bigger picture. And if I can't see it, to just know that it's there, that somehow this is all working towards the good, because we know that God is good, and that is all there is. And that takes faith to remember when we're in a world where it doesn't look like that all the time. Again, healing is recognizing wholeness that already exists. It's not about having to change anything, which is a really difficult lesson to learn sometimes. And the last, and I think this is the thing that helps me the most in terms of having a peaceful life and having a life that feels well lived, and is to remember that whatever the appearance is, there is wholeness. And I may not understand the plan in the moment, but there is a plan that I can believe in. That car that hit me when I had that accident was not an accident. It truly was the answer to my prayer. I was saying, what's my purpose? Saying, well, what you're doing right now isn't it anymore. We need to move you along to someplace else. And I was just stubborn enough to not let go of massage therapy because I loved it. There was nothing wrong with it. There was not like, oh, you're on the wrong path. It was like, you're just not on the exact right path. Just a little over to the left or to the right or wherever. And so everyday faith is that which we can hold within our hearts. We can hold within our minds. We can hold it within our bodies, that supports us to live and to act and trust in a way so that we can have a life well lived, a life well loved, and a life in faith. So I thank you all so much for coming and listening to my story. I feel like it's a good place for us to take a moment to go inside and find that I was playing with the parable of the mustard seed. So here it is. Here's the mustard seed. Haha, you can't see it because it's so small. But let's go inside and find that mustard seed within ourselves, that faith, whatever you believe in. Bring yourself present here. And I invite you to take a couple of nice deep breaths. Let go of anything distracting and bring your attention to your heart. You might even want to put your hand on your heart and know that this is the place where your higher self connects with you. And allow yourself to just rest in that knowledge. That there is something larger than you, something greater that loves, that brings peace, that we can trust. That there is a tapestry of life. And allow yourself to just rest in this knowing, in this place of faith. And in this place of openness and connection, you might find that there is a message for you. There is a message for you from that higher power. It is a seed that is planted today in your heart. Seed of faith. And again, just allow yourself to take another nice deep breath and plant that seed deep into your heart. And when you're ready, just open your eyes, bring yourself back here in this room with that new gift.
Thank you, Amber Rose.